hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 6 amazing fall DIY ideas for you, all using supplies from the Dollar Tree. I had so much fun making these fall DIYs and I can't wait for you to see the new ones. So the first one we're going to do is a pumpkin, a rope pumpkin, and I'm going to do it with some of the Dollar Tree rope. I think this is the 9.5-foot rope. It would work with any of the Dollar Tree rope, just whichever one you can find. This is kind of the skinnier one, I guess I would say. And what I'm going to do is coil it. So I'm going to end up using only 2 packages of the rope, made a pretty decent sized pumpkin. And what I'm trying to do is like the sections of the pumpkin, and then I want like the ends to come together in the same place, so I have them there together. And then I just kind of fan them out to see, would this work? And, you know, the Dollar Tree rope is just kind of floppy in general, so I didn't think that the pumpkin could stand up on its own. So to fix that, we're going to use some of the Dollar Tree wired jute. So I used 2 packages of rope and I used 2 packages of the wired jute. What I found was the wired jute is a little bit shorter, like 2 feet shorter maybe, than the Dollar Tree rope. But I'm actually going to wind the rope around it a little bit, which uses a little bit more length, and so pretty even keel. So we're going to use 1 package of rope for each side of the pumpkin and 1 of the wire jute for each side. Now to keep it from kind of falling off at the beginning, I'm just going to take some Dollar Tree twine and tie it off just to make sure it stays in place while I wind it. What I'm doing is going the same direction as the rope, so it's not super obvious that I'm adding more rope to this by adding the wired jute to it. But what it's going to do is make me have this perfectly moldable rope that I can make take exactly the right shape that I want it to and make it stand up. So I wound the whole thing. This is how much rope I have left over. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim that part off. I want all of it to be wired. I also go back and twist it one more time just to make sure everything is connected and it doesn't separate into like 2 separate ropes. So this is what it looks like so far. And again, that was enough for half of my pumpkin. So we're going to do the same thing with the second rope. So 9.5-foot brown rope and 1 package of the wired jute. I love this wired jute when you don't have to cut it because then it all stays on the wire. If you worked with this before, you'll know if you cut it, it likes to try to come apart. So same thing, I just line them up again, tie them off. I really didn't have to tie off the other end when I get done, but this helps me because you're kind of tugging and pulling at it when you start winding it. And I'm not winding it like crazy amount, but I'm just winding it enough where it kind of blends into the rope, and then again at the very end I just cut off the excess. So we have them both wound. Now we can start forming the pumpkin. I'm going to do about the same thing that I was trying to do there initially, like by coiling them. And it's, you know, whatever size loop you do is going to give you whatever size pumpkin you want, but I figured that I needed some kind of guide so I could make it symmetrical. I'm just going to use some painter's tape, something circular that I had handy that was about the perfect size, and I'm going to use that as a guide as I start to coil it. You can only go so far with it, but once you have it, you know kind of what size to do it. Just make sure you keep it all bundled together like this. Especially since it's wired, it's going to want to try to like kind of go all over the place. And then again, I want the beginning and the end to both be together so that we can put that in the center of the pumpkin. Now to tie it off, you could use zip ties. I wanted something that would kind of blend into the natural rope. So again, I'm just using jute. I just make sure that none of my coils are like super overlapped because that could cause problems. And then make sure that both ends are in there. And then I'm just going to tie this off. And I did leave the excess twine on there so that I can attach it to the other half of the pumpkin. And it's just a matter of molding it at this point since you have that wired jute on there. And there's a total of 6 sections on each half of the pumpkin. And so again, this worked pretty well using the painter's tape. So I'm going to do the same thing here with the other half by coiling it. And you know what? I absolutely love how this pumpkin turns out. It was just such a fun idea. I've made so many pumpkins here on my channel, and it just looks so nice. I love it. It really looks like the shape of a pumpkin when we're done. So again, 6 coils. I have the beginning and the end together. I'm kind of fanning it out, making sure that nothing is overlapped. That's going to make it easier when you go to put this pumpkin together. And again, we're just going to tie it off here with some Dollar Tree twine. I really hope you're enjoying my fall DIY videos. I did get started in July with them, so I do have quite a few of them out now. So if you've missed any, you might want to go back and catch some more. I love fall DIYs. I think it's everybody's kind of favorite time to create other than Christmas, I guess. So now that I have the excess twine on there, I can use it to tie them together. So I just tie it to the other bundle, and then this bundle, I'm going to do the same thing, kind of fish it through, tie it together. Just saves me a step of having to add more twine. And now you can kind of see like the ends of the rope in there and like where I tied them together. And since the pumpkin's going to be open, you'd be able to see that. So I am going to just kind of mask it with some more jute twine. I'm just going to tie some more off. You could also do this with like your leftover rope from what you cut off. Just wrap it around. It would probably be a little bit easier, but it's going to be thicker. I kind of wanted mine to just kind of blend into the rope, make it not super obvious. And so I just cut a piece off and feed it through. I think I cut off a little bit more twine than I needed. It got a little bit easier once I shortened it because it wasn't going to take a lot to mask this. I just want to wrap it around, and that is going to be the core part of the pumpkin. I want to do this now before I open up the pumpkin because then it's kind of got a mind of its own. So at the end, I just tie it off again just to make sure that stays in place. And we have pretty much most of the pumpkin done. We do still have to add a pumpkin stem and a leaf, which we're also going to be using items from the Dollar Tree for. So this is the time to shape it out. So I found if you held it in the middle, you could kind of fan out one side like that. Some of them are going to want to like kind of cross over each other, you'll find. And so it's just a lot of messing with it and bending it because of course you have that wire jute on there. So it should keep whatever shape you decide. And you can make it kind of short and squatty. You could kind of stretch it out and make it like a taller pumpkin. It's pretty versatile. So that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and do a pumpkin stem. I'm going to be using one of these wood slices from the Dollar Tree. You could also use the wood stems or any kind of stick, honestly. And I wanted it to have a little bit of color, so I decided to stain mine with a little antique wax by Waverly, just to bring out that warm character and make it look fun for the pumpkin stem. And I tried to pick out one of the stems that kind of has some bumps on it, give it a little personality. And I'm going to put a little hot glue, push that down inside the core of our rope pumpkin. And you know what? You could also put stuff inside this if you wanted to like display leaves or any kind of thing that you wanted to like put inside of it. Since it's kind of hollow, you could put things inside of it. But I'm going to leave mine like that. I'm just going to add a few leaves. And I decided green. I'm just going to use some fall leaves. You could use really anything you want. Just a couple of leaves here on the top. Just some simple decor here for the top of the pumpkin. And I'm just attach them with a little bit of hot glue. And this is how my pumpkin turned out. Isn't it cute? Doesn't it like really look like a pumpkin? I love it. It was so much fun. And I think it's going to really go with any kind of fall decor that you might have in your home. It would go with traditional. It would go with coastal. It would go with neutral. All the ones that I've been doing so far here on my channel. But isn't that fun? So a Dollar Tree rope pumpkin. I had so much fun putting that one together. A little learning curve figuring it out, but we figured it out. Hey guys, don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel. Okay, for the next DIY, I wanted to do like a wood block pumpkin. But you know, I thought Dollar Tree probably has something that I could use that's pre-made, and this sign is perfect. It's square. It's got a pumpkin stem on it already. And instead of making it, we can kind of hack this Dollar Tree sign instead. So it's got like a slatted board sign with the two little raised pieces of wood on there, and it's got words on it as well. I want it to be just a simple, like farmhouse pumpkin, block pumpkin. So I do need to mask all the words on there. I'm just using some ivory paint. You can use white. Basically, it's going to give you like a blank canvas. And I went ahead and left the little wood slices on the side. I like those. I'm actually going to add more wood to it to give like the little pumpkin sections. The only thing is with painting, you have to kind of be careful how much paint you're going to get down inside the grooves here. I'm just using a Cricut weeder to kind of clean that up a little bit, and I want to make sure that no words are coming through. So a second coat was necessary here in a couple places just to give me a blank canvas. We're going to be painting this pumpkin block sign orange. And I'm sure you've seen these made where people like take different pieces of wood and put them together to kind of make a block pumpkin. And this is just kind of a quick little hack so you don't have to make it yourself. Now the sides are obviously like different color boards as well. So I'm going to go over them with some ivory paint as well to give them a blank canvas. And I don't really care if I get any paint on the stem because we're going to wrap that and make that look cute too. So that looks pretty good coverage. We've covered up all those words. And for the wood piece for the front, we're just going to use a Dollar Tree wood ruler. I love crafting with these. They have a little ridge on there, so I think that's going to add extra detail. I just have to cut the ruler down to size, and it can be like the middle section of the pumpkin. It is wider than the other ones, but since it has that little extra ridge and stuff like that, I think that kind of goes with that wood block pumpkin feel. I just attach it with some hot glue right into the center. That's a little groove I'm talking about that kind of sticks out there in the middle a little bit. And it is great wood to craft with. I craft with these things all the time. And I just go over it with a coat of the ivory too, just so I have the same starting color. And one thing about doing ivory all over this is I'm going to do a thin coat of acrylic over this, so I won't really need to distress. The white will kind of come through. This is the color I chose. It's apricot acrylic paint. It's a little bit more yellowish than like my pumpkin color that I have, but I kind of like it. So I'm just painting it kind of all in one direction. So you see that like a little bit of white coming through. It's going to kind of make it look distressed, and that will just save me a step. I won't have to go back and distress it anymore. And I just go ahead and paint the entire front orange. Now, you could put some words or pictures on it. I just want it to be just look like plain wood blocks. So we're just going to have it be one color and nothing fancy. I do go around all the edges with that same apricot colored paint. And again, I don't want really good coverage, so definitely not going over it with a second coat. See how when you dry there, it like that wood grain came through. I just had to touch up a few places where maybe a little bit too much white was coming through, but I think that looks pretty good. Now it is time to finish drying it, and then we can redo the pumpkin stem. Super easy to do that. I'm just going to use some Dollar Tree twine and wrap it. It's going to make it look really cool. If you didn't like it, you don't want to wrap it, you could always replace it with a wood stem or something like that and kind of give it like kind of a gnarly one. But I love just a simple jute wrapped pumpkin stem. I think it looks really good. I just attached a little hot glue there at the bottom and then just simply wind it up. When you get to the top, you're going to have to use a little bit more hot glue to keep it from sliding off the end. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and cover the very top of it too, so that it doesn't really stand out being dark wood like that. I just put a little hot glue on the tip and just coil it around inside each other until I fill up the pumpkin stem. Super easy to do. And again, I do just want like a plain woodblock pumpkin. And so that is pretty much all the decor the pumpkin's going to get. but I am going to add a little raffia bow to the top just to make it kind of look charming. I just burn off the fuzzies there on my twine. And for the raffia, I'm actually going to use a Dollar Tree grass skirt. These are from the summer section. My store still have them. And they are great for fall crafting. I've made so many things with these grass skirts that I have left over from my luau videos this summer. So I'm going to cut it in half. I grabbed one piece, which is like 2 pieces, and cut it in half. And I'm just going to simply wrap that around the pumpkin stem. And we're just going to tie a very simple bow, just like tying your shoes. And kind of adjust it to make my bow look even. I want that raffia kind of going down in the front. And again, just very simple, but I think it turned out really cute. I always like to do, a pumpkin stem, but I always like to add leaves too. So I had one of these extra leaves from eucalyptus plant that I have from the fall florals, and I'm just going to do one of the green leaves. Just choosing green again, I think that looks good. And I just cut one off, and it's really lightweight, so I can just attach it with a little dot of hot glue, kind of at an angle back behind the pumpkin stem. And there it is, our simple, just farmhouse, woodblock pumpkin sign. I think it turned out really cute. It was so easy to do. And when you do a simple piece like this without like any more decor and wording and stuff like that, it pairs really well with other like fall decor that you can sit around it and group with it. And it's just kind of a blank canvas, but I really love how it turned out. And using that Dollar Tree sign was definitely a big time saver. Okay, the next DIY, I picked up a galvanized metal fall planter from the Dollar Tree, and I thought we would do a fall floral display. Now, they try to distress them with like some kind of a white paint, but I don't really like the way that they do that at Dollar Tree. So I'm just using some fingernail polish remover and cleaning up this pot. It is a fall sign, so it does have fall words on it. I do like it being metal, and I'm going to kind of go with that, but I want to age it. So I just cleaned it up, removed the tag, and I'm going to use paint distressing on the metal. I know that you can spray like vinegar on these, and I think it will like literally eat the pot a little bit to make it look worn and rusted like an old farmhouse pot. But I didn't really have the time for that. And so I'm going to try to age it with paint. So I just use a paper towel. I just fold it up into fourths. And this metal, it's called silver metallic acrylic paint. I get this at Dollar General, and I am just sponging it all over. So I just get a little bit of paint on the paper towel and I just sponge it. Kind of like a sponge painting, but since the paper towel is dry and not a sponge, it's gonna leave more paint. So it provided a nice like little mottled texture all over for my first coat to kind of age this. I wasn't sure how to do it. I've never aged one of these Dollar Tree pots before like this. I want it to look old and rusty. And so for the next coat, I'm going to use this color of acrylic. It is burnt umber, I think it is. And it's just a brown paint. I think you could probably also use Antique Wax by Waverly if you wanted to. And again, I just take a little slice of paper towel, fold it into fourths, and just start sponging it on. I wasn't too sure at first because maybe I had too much paint on there because it was a little globby. I kind of wanted to be like kind of speckled all over, but I did learn the technique a little bit there, but I might have a little bit too much paint here on first, so I just went back over it with a dry paper towel to kind of take off some of the excess paint, make it look a little bit more random. I like that better. So I think I've learned how to do it a little bit better. So less paint is more kind of with this. And then just kind of sponge it all over. If you get too much on there, you can always go back and wipe some of it off. And if you have a disaster, the paint, as long as it's, new on there, you're going to be able to wash it off with like just water or baby wipe or whatever. Don't be afraid to go for it. I just kind of went all over with this and made it look old and rusty. I was going for that farmhouse charm on here. So it's definitely looking old and rusty, but then I was thinking maybe it's a little bit too rusty. So I'm going to go over it some more with that silver metallic. I'm thinking you could probably use like gray acrylic too if you don't have a metallic. It's going to give you that same kind of like old pot feel. You don't want it to be super shiny, but I did like having the metallic because I felt like it did give me a little bit of shine peeking through all of that distressing. If you guys have ever aged a pot with paint, you'll have to let me know in the comments below how you did it. But I was pretty happy for my first time with how this turned out. It definitely made it look like an old pot. Now, it does have words on here, but they're kind of hard to read. So I'm going to go over them with a paint pen, just a white Posca paint pen, and kind of draw them back on. They are raised, but not like a super amount, but enough to be able to paint them easily with a paint pen. So this pot says Harvest Blessings. I don't want it to be really stark white paint against that old rusty pot. That really wouldn't make sense. So once I get it on here, I do kind of weather it a little bit so it's not so bright. But I wanted to give at least a start of white to these letters just to make it kind of stand out a little bit more. Now I wanted to stress it, but I don't want to like really damage the pot at all, and I don't really want to scratch it. So I very lightly sand that paint down with a sanding sponge, trying not to scratch my pot because I really don't want it looking all scratched. I want it to just kind of look rusty, if that makes sense. But I think that looks pretty good. It looks old. Let's go ahead and fill it up with some fall florals. Now it is pretty large, so I went ahead and used 3 of those little foam blocks from the Dollar Tree. And I'm also going to use some floral moss. You guys are going to have to let me know in the comments. Have you guys been able to find reindeer moss or Spanish moss or any of those kind of mosses at your Dollar Trees lately? Because mine only has this brown floral moss. It's not my favorite. For fall it works, but I don't know why they don't have it. I did look on their website and I could order a case, but you have to order 36. And a lot of people are getting brown reindeer moss. So I'm like, that's not going to help me at all. I don't know why I'm having such trouble finding it. Hopefully they get it together before Christmas because I use it a lot for Christmas crafting. Now these are the florals we're going to use. They're fall florals. They are mums and ivory. Nice neutral color. I'm just using some wire cutters to cut these all off. I just got those wire cutters the other day from, oh my goodness, was it Lowe's or Home Depot? I think it was Lowe's, and they work pretty good. I just wanted just some plain wire cutters because my Dollar Tree floral scissors just don't seem to be cutting the wire very well anymore. Now I'm also ironing these mums with my heat gun. If you have any smashed flowers and you want them to be big and bold like this, the heat gun or like a hair dryer works fabulous for that. So I used to use a hairdryer when I first started, but those little heat guns are only like $10. I have mine linked in my Amazon shop in the description of this video. They are like so worth it. I use it all the time. But I'm going to go ahead and use 2 bundles of the mums. And I want them to be arranged just like I want them. So I'm cutting them all down. I want it to be big and bold, full of mums. And I think these mums from the Dollar Tree are really pretty. I'm just leaving the leaves on them, but I kind of fill the pot so much that you can't really see them anymore. And so I am going to add some more greenery just to kind of bring some more color into that as well. This is the greenery that we're going to use. This is also with the fall florals. It's called eucalyptus. I think it has maybe some other names too. And I am just going to cut down sprigs of this and kind of put it in there just for some leaves, just because I was kind of disappointed that you couldn't really see any of the leaves from the mums. And it's probably because I packed these in here. And I think it's going to look really cute. Just mums and pumpkins is what I was going to go with for this one. Very fall. At first I was going to do some burlap pumpkins, but they ended up being way too big. So what I'm going to use is some of the pumpkin clips, and we're just going to make our own picks by using some of the skewers from the food section at the Dollar Tree. This is the color I chose. They're called muted orange, and I wanted orange. I didn't know if I really wanted a lot of color with this one. And so you do have to be really careful taking these little clips off the bottom. It's kind of impossible, I think, without damaging them. But you know what? I don't think you're going to be able to see the bottom of them, so I think that's okay. So I think that the skewers are going to be a little bit taller than I want, so I'm just going to cut those down. They're kind of hard to cut with scissors. They're almost easier to snap with your fingers. And leaving the pointy end down, I just go ahead and put those into my pumpkins. That way it's easier to poke these down inside all that floral foam we have inside. and just arrange them. I like three. Three's an odd number, so that's going to look good in there. And I kind of have like the one in front the lowest and kind of working up back like that for the front for tallest. But I thought I needed a little bit more height with my arrangement. So I'm also going to add some Dollar Tree willow. These are fall colors. They have these in fall colors. They browns and reds and oranges, I think. This is the brown one. And so I'm cutting them off. I'm also cutting like the first branch of them off so they have more of a pick on them that I can put down into the floral foam. And it's a little bit of brown color added to it. A pretty muted display with like the ivory mums and the muted color pumpkins. But it gave me the perfect amount of height, so I think these were a good addition. I'm just going to go ahead and use the whole package. I might as well. And kind of just stagger those all over. And we have our fall florals. Really cute, rustic, farmhouse kind of vibe. And really fun to put together. I always love crafting with florals, and I used to not really enjoy it because Dollar Tree's florals were very low quality, but I have found since the price increased to $1.25 that my florals at my store have gotten so much better. But here it is, our little pot of mums with pumpkins in a pot. Hey guys, be sure to check out my new website, craftybeach.net. It's going to have an archive of all my YouTube crafts, and then you can pin the ideas on Pinterest to remember to craft them later. Okay, for the next DIY, we're going to be making an acorn tree. I thought this was a really fun idea. I picked up a foam cone like this from Dollar Tree and some of their acorns. I think I use a total of 6 packages. There's 10 in each package. And I was thinking, oh, 4 will be plenty. I'm glad I bought more. But I did have to use more than I thought for sure. Now, I do want to attach them to the foam cone, but I don't want that styrofoam to be visible between acorns. So we're going to cover the entire foam cone with burlap. This is just burlap ribbon I got from the Dollar Tree. You can use like the big rolls of burlap, but burlap or some kind of fabric is going to work well for this. Basically, it's going to give you a pretty background behind the acorns, but it's also going to give you something to glue the acorns to besides the foam, because foam hates hot glue, but it'll work for this. So I go around the top first just because I want to cover as much as I can, but it's kind of an odd shape with this roll, so I'm going to have to be creative and kind of piece it together to get the whole thing covered and tight against it. So I just go down like this to the bottom, trying to get it as tight as I can. I'm just going to have to go back and do more rows. It's just kind of the odd shape of the cone, but we're going to make do. And again, this is just kind of for functional purposes, but I do want it to be a burlap background. You're not going to be able to see all these seams in the final product. So I fill in this row. It's going to require a 3rd row of that burlap to cover it. And again, I'm not even cutting, like, I'm just leaving like angles on it like that. I don't really care. I'm just making sure to cut it down so that none of it really goes on the bottom of the acorn tree. And you could use real acorns for this if you have real ones. I remember one of my viewers last year mailed me acorns from her yard to craft with, and I thought that was so funny and fun. When I had a laugh when I opened the box, but you know what? I used them all for crafting. They were great. She sent me pine cones and acorns. I think it was one of my members, Janae, so thanks, Janae. I did cinch it up a little bit there more at the top just to make sure that it was all tight against the cone. And we're just going to have it be flat against the ground like that to display. I'm not going to do a stand or anything like that. And now it's just a matter of attaching the acorns. Now, I thought about using toothpicks for this because you could like stab down into the foam. But I wanted to see if I could just do it with hot glue. And it did work, but one thing you're going to have to keep in mind when you're doing this is to definitely take your time, because the hot glue definitely needs time to dry. Otherwise, they are going to fall right off. So I started out kind of doing one at a time. As I work my way up, I kind of start doing like 2 at a time. But these acorns from the Dollar Tree are great because they're kind of, fall colors. you don't have to paint them. They also have like the wooden acorns that you could use, but you are going to have to like stain or paint those first. But you know what? Those would actually be really pretty because this, when you stain them, they turn out so pretty because you get that wood grain. But this is probably the easiest way to do it. Now make sure that they're gonna fit. You might need to space them out when you get towards the end, but I was able to really tightly do the bottom layer of these. I have them all going the same direction, like acorn cap up. And as you can see, it did a great job doing like the first row like that. Now I'm gonna kind of nestle these down in between, but again, it's gonna get skinnier as you go up. So you know what, you're gonna be able to use less. So you're not gonna be able to do that every time for sure. I just try to get them to fit as much as I can. And again, don't go too fast because they do just come right back off, even with Gorilla Glue hot glue if you don't give it a chance to dry. This was kind of a good direction to do mine in because they kind of rusted a little bit on the one below them and on the burlap behind them. But I still went ahead and took a break, let those set up a little bit. And then I thought I could probably make it a little bit sturdier by adding a little bit extra hot glue there on the top. These last two I'm going to have to space out a little bit, but nothing too obvious to make it fit. And again, we have that burlap back there, so I don't really care if you can see through some of them. Now, once I have my second row, we're going to keep working our way up. I love making like any kind of like topiary trees, things like that with fun items. I think I did like a conversation heart topiary for Valentine's Day. And I've made a lot of things for like Christmas, and fall is a really fun time to do a tree like this as well. So third row is almost done. I was getting a little bit faster, but again, definitely let them dry between each one, and a little extra hot glue on the top there can kind of go down behind them a little bit, and you're not going to be able to see that from the front. So I was like, okay, yeah, we need more acorns. This isn't going to be enough. So I did have another package that I had purchased this year, and they have these in different colors too. You know, you could do random colors if that's all you can find. I got like some real dark ones and some like almost like cherry red stained ones. That would be pretty too if you like alternated them, or you could even do acorn trees in different colors if you could find a lot of them at your store. So that row looks good. We've got it all glued on there. And then I was like, I am still not going to have enough, but you know what? I had some left over from last year. They're a little bit different color, but when you turn them around, they do have like a yellowish side, which is going to blend in with the rest of these. They're kind of all like yellow and red a little bit. But we're going to make it work because we've came this far. I definitely want an acorn tree. Now the top was a little challenging because the tree doesn't go to a point, and I want my acorns to go to a point. So it's going to be challenging. I think 4 will fit. I just put a bunch of hot glue right there at the seam between the topiary or the foam piece and the acorns. And then I just sat 4 up there and tried to glue them to the acorns underneath of them. They were still a little bit wobbly. And then just put more hot glue in between them to try to keep them on there. For the very top acorn, I am going to use a toothpick. So I just put a toothpick in the foam acorn, put some more hot glue in there, and just kind of glue that down to the top. I wasn't sure if the top was going to work out, but it did. And I'm glad that it goes to like a pointy top like that. I think that looks pretty cool. And this is how it turned out, my little acorn tree. Really fun and whimsical. You can leave it up all fall. You know, you could probably even leave it up for winter too. Acorns are just a fun way to decorate, and if you had real ones, they would look fantastic too. These are a little all kind of the same, being from the Dollar Tree, but I think they turned out pretty cool. Okay, the next DIY, we're going to turn this pencil cup into a Scarecrow gnome. So the reason I chose this pencil cup, this is from the back to school aisle they have right now, is because it has holes in the side. And I want my gnome to have arms. So I thought I won't have to drill into it, and it's a perfect size for a gnome. I do want to kind of cover up all this pinkness and all of those extra holes in it though. I don't want that to show through my material that I'm going to use to make like the shirt and the body of my gnome. So to cover it all up, I just use masking tape and just go all the way around, kind of give me a blank canvas and mask a lot of that bright pink color. Now I got this idea from like a gnome company that I saw that made really cool like custom gnomes, and I thought a scarecrow gnome is a perfect idea. I bet I could make that with supplies from the Dollar Tree. Now I don't want the pink here on the bottom of the cup to show up either. That's going to be like the head area of my gnome. But I'm glad I made it with this cup just because, again, it's got holes in it already. So I'm going to do like the second row hole here and then straight across on the other side. I'm just going to poke a hole in the masking tape. That way I can add the arms. Now this is the fabric I'm going to use. It's from Dollar Tree. I was just looking for anything plaid. And the fact that this was like brown and tan really goes with like the fall feel. But you can use whatever you can find. I think plaid is great though for a scarecrow shirt, which is what this is going to be. So I'm going to cut the fabric a little bit bigger than what I need. And then we are going to cover the cup. This is going to be like the shirt and the body of our fall gnome. This gnome turned out so cute. I think it might be my favorite one I've ever made here on my channel. It was a little time consuming, but I will take you through all of the steps needed to make this cutie. Now, I'm not worrying too much about fraying because you know what? Scarecrow shirts should look old and frayed, right? I just glue the fabric to itself, just making a sleeve to go over that pencil cup. Now, as you can see, it's fraying quite a bit here at the bottom. That's okay. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I cut it down a little bit. I am going to add some trim down here just to kind of give me a finished edge to the bottom of my gnome here on a little bit. So not too concerned with that. The top part, I just kind of need to see where my arms need to be. And I'm going to use Dollar Tree dowels for this. Now, if you had this diameter of a dowel that's longer, it'd be great because you could use it for both arms if you're using this exact pencil cut from the Dollar Tree. I just need to poke a hole in the fabric and put my arm through like this. You can make it go all the way through to the other side if you had a longer piece. Since my dowel is a little bit shorter, I'm going to have one for each arm. But as you can see, they are right across from each other, so that works out pretty well. And we have a hole in the fabric, so we will be able to attach the arms just like that. So that's when it was like, definitely need two of them because I need them to have long arms. And then I'm just going to take the excess fabric here, just tucking it all in here on the top. You're not going to be able to see this part because we're going to make a scarecrow hat for the gnome. And then around the bottom, I just wanted to look a little bit finished. We are using this burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree to make a burlap hat. And so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of steal the seam from this one. By cutting that off, it's going to give me a very thin burlap trim like that. You could also use like the burlap trim from Dollar Tree. And that's just to give me a more professional seam down there. So you don't see the fraying. None of that pink pencil cut like comes out or anything like that. I just attach it with hot glue all the way around. Now, the shirt is complete, but he needs arms, so he's going to need sleeves. So I'm going to cut out some fabric, wide enough, I think, for one of the arms. Actually, for both of the arms. That's why I cut it extra long like that. And I want to kind of stuff it, have like hay hanging out at the end, like a scarecrow. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this rectangle in two, so I have one for each sleeve. For the raffia, I'm just using grass skirts from the Dollar Tree summer section. And I am just kind of making a tassel with it. I wasn't sure how much to use at first. I was trying this to see if it was enough, and you know what? I think I might need a little bit more. I just went ahead and made a little tassel because I have it all folded here at the end, right? And so I can just use another one of those grass skirt pieces to tie it off. And we have a little tassel with some raffia to it that I can use to tie it to the dowel. So that's what I'm going to do. You could also attach it with hot glue, but I have this on here, so I thought I might as well just tie it too. It's going to be peeking out of the sleeve and when we finish it. So I just tie that off. I think that's the perfect amount of hay to be coming out. So let me go ahead and grab another piece of grass skirt. And this time I just kind of find out the length I need. And you can just kind of wind it around and around just using your fingers like that. Cut it off and tie it off to make a tassel. Once I get it tied off, I can go back and cut the loops here at the other end for making it look like, you know, just raw pieces of raffia hanging out. Now, I don't really like crafting with raffia. I think it's kind of hard to craft with, the Dollar Tree raffia, but these grass skirts are really easy to work with. The raffia is just a little wild, in my opinion. Now, for stuffing, you don't have to stuff it, but I thought it would be fun to kind of make them look like puffier arms than the skinny dowels, right? I just have some fluff from an old pillow, and I just use some hot glue to attach my sleeve right here, down where it kind of overlaps like with the hand, the hay part, right? And just wind that around, getting the stuffing right inside and hot gluing it to each self like that. I end up making these a little bit longer. I can always go back and shorten them if I need to, and I do end up needing to. So same thing, I just glue my sleeve on here, add a little pillow fluff in there, kind of sandwich it in, and roll it around, hot gluing it to itself, and we have two little scarecrow arms. I love this idea. When I saw it, I absolutely had to make it. So I'm going to try them on for size. They're not bad, but they're a little bit too long, I think. So let's trim them down a little bit. I'm going to just cut the dowels a little bit with some miter scissors. Works really well to cut right through these, since I had to use two, one for each arm. And then I don't want the hay to be that long, so I'm going to trim that down as well. That looks more to scale with the size of the scarecrow gnome we're making. I'm going to add a little hot glue there to the hole to help keep it in place and just put my sleeve right in there. Again, not really worried about fraying fabric or anything like that. It's going to add to like that farmhouse rustic appeal of this little scarecrow guy. I did add a little hot glue on the inside just to make sure the arms stay in place like that. And the body of the scarecrow is coming along nicely. Now for the beard. Of course, it's supposed to look like hay, right? It's a scarecrow gnome, right? So again, using the grass skirt, I might as well take advantage of the fact that it's already on twine here at the top, right? So I just cut off a little piece that was wide enough to go all the way around. And using hot glue, I'm attaching it to the bottom of that pencil cup there at the top. Once I get it glued together, I can kind of figure out how long I need my little gnome beard to be. That looks good, but it's way too thin. So we're going to have to do layers to make it look thick. I don't really want to be able to see the shirt through it. So with that remaining raffia that I just cut off, I took a third, glued it over there. I'm going to glue like a third of it over here and the other third in the middle. Therefore doing like a second row of the raffia. Just making sure that I have it all glued down so it stays in place. I can gather that together now and trim that down too. You want it to be long, but you don't want it to be like super long, like where it curls up too much from hitting the ground. I think that looks good, but you know what? I like my gnomes to have like a super full beard. So I still have more of that raffia from that piece. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm just going to hot glue another layer here. And that way he's going to have like a super full beard. Again, just trimming off the excess, gathering it together and cutting it down. He is really coming together. We're also going to be having hay come out of his hat to really make him look like a scarecrow, right? He's got he's got hay coming out of his sleeves. He's got a hay beard. I want him to have hay coming out of his hat as well. And I think this is also called a gonk. One of my viewers told me that whenever you make like a gnome with, you can't see their eyes, that's called a gonk, which is kind of a funny word, but I like it. Now I gathered up some more of that raffia that I had from the grass skirt, and I just tied it together in like a big bundle tassel like that. And I just hot glued that towards the back. And then I'm going to need, I think, a little bit more hair. So take some more of the grass skirt. I'm going to make another like tassel by wrapping it around my hands, tying it off. Tying it off just really makes it easy to work with because you just have a bundle. Go back and cut all my loops so I have wild, crazy hair coming out. And then I'm going to glue that one right on top of where like the beard is. And I think that looks pretty full. For the hat, we're going to be using that burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use the piece that I already had here that I cut the hem off of for the bottom of it. Might as well. That'll give it kind of an open burlap appearance there at the top. And I'm just going to wrap it around kind of a cone-shaped hat, which doesn't really make sense here in the back, but we're able to mask it pretty well by pulling it tight, hot gluing it to itself like that. And then we can go back and trim off the excess fabric to make it kind of make more sense back there. And that looks pretty good. I want to do like a two-part hat, like with a like kind of a brim and a stripe on the hat too for a little bit more detail. I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue to glue this on top of the beard there just so the hat stays in place on this little guy. And then I didn't really have any ribbon that I really wanted to use for this. So what we're going to use is that same fabric we use for a shirt. That way it will match. So I'm going to actually use the pattern on here, that little pattern piece for my ribbon. I just cut another piece down to size to see if that would be large enough to go around his hat, and it was. So then I just cut down that pattern of it like that. I thought that would make a really cute like little checkered ribbon for his hat. And then I want to do like the brim of the hat too. So I'm just going to use another piece of that burlap ribbon. I love this stuff. It's my favorite. It's my favorite thing Dollar Tree's ever done. I use burlap all the time. And so that looks long enough, but it doesn't need to be very wide. So I cut it down into a thin little strip like that. And I have it where the seam is kind of coming up, kind of make it look like it has a little bit of dimension, the brim of the hat. And I don't go fully around, I just kind of glue it back to the sides like that. And then we can go ahead and put the ribbon on the hat too. I kind of like the fact that it is looking a little rough with fraying and stuff like that. And I don't really care if it's super round back here. I just kind of need it to be tight up against the gnome. So I kind of do it almost in a point back there. But I'm going to kind of embrace it looking ragged. I want it to look a little 3D too. So I just kind of wiggle around, mess with it a little bit, give it some dimension. And then every like little gonk or gnome needs a nose. I'm just going to use a Dollar Tree wood bead, just a natural wood bead. I think that's going to look really cute on there. And I want it to be right underneath its hat. So I'm going to hot glue it right here down through the grass skirt. And then have it hole up and hole down so you can't see the hole. I just go ahead and glue the hat, covering it slightly to cover up that hole. He is really coming together. I just give him a little bit of a trim. You can kind of mess that grass skirt up a little bit, make it look wild like raffia or hay, kind of going all over the place. And he is looking really cute. I thought he needed maybe one more touch, like something else on his hat. So I'm going to use one of these little sunflowers from the Dollar Tree. I thought that would be great for fall and great for a scarecrow. They do come on wires though, which kind of gets in the way. So I'm just going to go ahead and snip the wire off and attach the sunflower to his hat with a little bit of hot glue. Now the one that I was looking at that was for sale, they had like a little crow on his arm. So if you could figure out a way to like DIY a little crow or something like that, that would be really cute too. Just something like that landing on his arm would be really cute. But I kind of left him as is, and I absolutely adore this guy. Isn't he so cute? Our little scarecrow gnome. I know a lot of you guys love gnomes. Some of you guys don't, but I don't know how you cannot like him. I used to be a gnome hater until I started making them, and now I love them. Now, the next DIY is one that I've made before, but I wanted to show you because I'm using it for my fall decor. I'm using one of these wood boxes from the Dollar Tree. It's like a pencil box, but I thought it would be a great planter to do stacked pumpkins in, right? So I'm going to show you how to do that with items from the Dollar Tree. I'm also going to make it multi-purpose for fall and Halloween. Depending on which direction you show it, one will be just straight fall. Turn it around, you can add a jack-o'-lantern to it, and it will be Halloween as well, right? So these are those great wood stickers they have from the Dollar Tree. And the jack-o'-lantern is just the right size to decorate the pot of this. I want to leave it natural wood, the pencil cup. I think it's so pretty. So we're just going to add one of these guys. I chose the natural color of wood just so that I could make it my own color. And I'm just using, I think this is lake color, just a light blue color, because I want to do a burlap orange and blue stacked pumpkin. So the makeup sponges work fantastic for this because you're not going to use too much paint. You don't have to worry about it pooling, especially like in his little face like that. And I want it to look a little distressed too. So I just kind of go over it, wiping off any excess paint. And just a little fun decor piece to add to the pot before we, DIY it a little bit more. Now I just cut down some Dollar Tree floral foam to fit inside this. It's a little bit small, and so I had to cut it down a little bit to fit. And this is dry, so we can use this to attach it to the front of it. And I'm using a foam pumpkin from the Dollar Tree, one of their burlap pumpkins, and one of their burlap pumpkin picks for this. It worked perfectly. The only pumpkin I'm really going to have to DIY is the foam pumpkin because I couldn't find a large burlap pumpkin from Dollar Tree. Now, I also want to weigh it down. I do want the foam. That's necessary. But I'm just going to use some Dollar Tree pebbles to weigh it down so it's like bottom heavy and won't tip over. So kind of both. I need both the foam and the rocks. Now let me show you how easy it is. This is the key. And you know what? This year I found one of these like even in like a moss all over it. And it's on a pick like this, a pumpkin. That would be really cool too. I might have to do something like that with it. But I'm going to take advantage of it using the dowel on it to actually make the stacked pumpkins, right? They have these again this year. These are the burlap pumpkins. I wanted blue, orange, and brown. So blue on top, orange is the middle. And then I just got a plain white foam one for the large burlap one. And making sure that each one was like kind of significantly bigger going down so we can get that great stacked pumpkin look, right? So I just go ahead and remove the top. It's kind of in there with like just a toothpick. And we're going to wrap it with burlap. Now this is the burlap ribbon that Dollar Tree carries in the fall a lot. You could always use this. You could always cut burlap down into strips like this. But having it in strips is going to make it easier to put it together. I love buying like the pre-made burlap ones, like that orange pumpkin, just because it's such a time saver. But I will show you how to make one from scratch if you need to. So I just went across and then crisscrossed, gluing together. Then I have this area in between each one that I go through. And having it go like the stripes go vertically like this is going to kind of give you that like pumpkin decor, right? And I go around all the different ways. Now I do want it to look a little bit more sectioned too. So I'm just going to take some twine. This is actually, I think, the twine from Walmart, but I just go around each section, coming back, going through the middle, tying it off, pulling it through the other side, and each one of the bumps of the pumpkin now has that twine through it. That is to give it that classic pumpkin shape, also to hold down the burlap, make it tight. I did have like a little bit of seams here in between my burlap pieces, but I just hot glued them all down. Now, this is the pumpkin we're going to start with on the top. It's perfect, ready to go. For the orange burlap pumpkin, I simply remove the pumpkin stem. And we're just going to go ahead and put this dowel down through the pumpkin. It's made out of foam as well. And all the way through, just sliding it on. And we're going to do the same thing with our DIY burlap pumpkin. I just try to find the center here, trying to go around the twine area that I did, poking that through, and there's plenty of dowel left to come all the way through to the bottom. It was such an easy way to do this. Now, if you can't find one that's already on the stick like this, you can always use a dowel for that, but using a dowel like that lets you kind of reposition them and it holds it all together for sure. So there's enough to go down into the foam. There's not a lot of dowel left, but there's enough. So I'm just trying to test it out to see if I think that that's going to be sturdy enough. Now, before I go ahead and add it to my planter, I'm going to add some fall leaves down here just for decor, and we can do little sections, right? I want them to be like they're peeking out from between the pumpkins to kind of add to that fun fall flair of this one. These are kind of the more neutral fall leaves, the ivory and like the tan. And I just kind of put those in there. Since I can still kind of move the pumpkins, I can kind of move them, open up a small gap, use a little bit of hot glue and go in there and attach those. I just alternate like the brown and the ivory like that, alternating each one. So it looks like there's some leaves poking out between the stacked pumpkins. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to add a little hot glue to the foam just to help keep this attached since the dowel is not very long at this point. Since we have all these pumpkins on here, right? So I just placed that down inside the foam, straight down to give us our stacked pumpkins. Now, even though the top one is more of like a sweater material, I think it still has that same texture and vibe as the rest of the burlap, and it coordinates well together, I think. And you could do this in any color scheme. Now, to kind of finish off the box, make it look more fun, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree rope, and I am going to just kind of frame it out. So I just start on the side using hot glue, go all the way around. And again, this is going to be multi-holiday, right? Fall and Halloween. For Halloween, you can just turn it around, or you can see the jack-o'-lantern. For the rest of fall, you can just spin it around like that. It won't have anything on it. I think the rope looked pretty good, so I went ahead and did another row of it around the bottom as well. It really went well with the burlap that we added to that bottom pumpkin. And this is how it turned out, our little stacked pumpkins. Really a fan. It was so easy to make. I really only had to DIY that one pumpkin there on the bottom just to get a burlap pumpkin to scale. But that little pencil box from the Dollar Tree worked really well for a tiny planter as well. Really fun. I hope you enjoyed that one as well. That was your bonus DIY. And now it's time for the final reveal. You can find me at Crafty Beach on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or Pinterest. And please leave your favorite fall DIY from today down in the comments so I know which one that you enjoyed the most. I always love reading all of your comments. Enjoy the final reveal.
Open up the window. I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold when the autumn leaves are playing chase. It puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Since I was a little child, every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us in
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. That always helps my videos. And I also want to give a huge shout out and thank you to all my Crafty Beach Bum members. Thank you so much to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Nancy Warner, Janae Farrington, Julie Miller, Pamelia Wren, Maria Grace, Donna Schreiner, Sandy C., Live Another Day, Tracy Wooldridge, Maren Christensen, Debbie Middleton, Vicki Connors, Adrian Brolt, Deborah Caldwell, and Red Mama. I appreciate you guys all so much. It really means a lot to me. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member, you're going to get early ad-free access to my videos, loyalty badges next to your name, and shout-outs in each video. It's $4.99 a month, and I would really appreciate it. Now, would you like more fall DIYs? Be sure to check out one of these videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting.